A good one from today, it wasn't as low price, was FSRX.
There we go.
This one's not as low price, but again, just the same exact pattern. I totally missed it. I was doing talking to the small cap rocket members. Someone in the room actually brought it up. But like, look, midday, perfect pattern, right over like even 510, and then just trended upwards, squeezed out to like 750s. That's textbook, exactly what I look for day in and day out. I believe this was an electric vehicle stock too, so it's also in a hot sector. So the more factors you can just add to a stock for like why it could possibly go up, like the higher your chances are of it actually working. All right, everybody, welcome back to This Week in Steady Trade. It's been a crazy week, crazy year. 2021 is trying to outdo 2020, which is pretty ridiculous. So we got a lot to talk about. We're going to jump to charts pretty soon in this episode, but Kyle, Jack, like, just what are you seeing in the market? Just an overall picture, and then we can go over some plays.
LONGS, longs. All longs. Don't go short. It's not worth it. See, I'm going to throw this hat away. This hat doesn't mean anything anymore. I'm like, stocks that I don't think should be going up, like, keep going up, and it's quite insane. I'll go over them, particularly with some crypto stocks. But the resilience from the long side is incredible. Like most of my career, my long profits have been around 10% of like total profits. So 90% from short. This month, I think it's almost flipped. Like 75 to 90% are from long. We'll see if that, this trend stays, but right now, like, it's almost like I'm buying and I'm right immediately. There's so much more energy and time and stress put into some of the short hits I've been taking. And with longing, it's just like incredibly smooth, like clear rest levels, clear breakouts, tons of volume. It just, it's an incredible time to be a long trader. So.
All said. Jake, anything to add?
I mean, I was risking like $200 per long trade probably 6 months ago. And now, like, I would say I've upped my risk on those anywhere from 500 to 2,000. And my long profits have surpassed my shorting gains. And it's just mind boggling because everyone kind of knew me as a mainly short bias trader, which I still kind of am a short bias trader, but I like to pride myself on being adaptive to what the market tells me and always listening to what the stocks say. So I just go with the flow, man. And I know that going long is superior right now. Going short is awful. And just that mindset flip, it makes it very easy to just accept defeat on shorts rather quickly. And some of these long trades, try to be a little bit more patient on because they're going the extra mile. But definitely don't overstay in something that's not working. Just something to note. But
I like it. Welcome to the fun side trading, boys.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun going long.
The longs.
Long, baby.
Kyle, pull up some charts. Let's do this.
All right. Jump right in.
Yeah, so I've said it a couple times on Twitter, several times in small cap rockets, like sub $1 stocks, listed stocks specifically, are just absolutely crazy. Even like above $1 stocks, basically any low price listed stock, like they're just running. There's so many, I can't even tell you, like, I don't have enough room on my screens. I don't have enough funds in my account for how many breakout charts there are on just a daily basis. And like, big picture, like, I always want to be in a breakout. And like today, especially towards the end of the day, there was literally like probably like 10 to 15 breakout charts I was looking at. And like, I just don't know what to do. Like, there's just too many. BIOL is a great recent example. This all kind of started, I think there's a couple factors. BNGO, I think, was kind of the spark. That one was insane. I don't even remember. Like, it was like 70 cents and it went to like $7. Yeah. Crazy move. They had news after hours today too, and I think they were going up again. So that's pretty crazy. So there's that. And then there's also the January effect that we were all talking about before we started recording. And like, it's just like 2 + 2 we didn't put together, where like the market's crazy to begin with, and then the January effect is basically like it happens because more or less like tax like harvesting, if you want to call it that, where like towards the end of the year, all these low price stocks just get beaten down because people are locking in their losses or gains, I guess, for that you can write off your losses on taxes for that year. So you got to do it by the end of December. So like a ton of charts are beaten down because of this, and so they become really low price and undervalued. And then come January, like everyone flips and starts buying them again because it's just a new tax year, and you get some explosive moves, especially once you get all the sellers out of them, and then there's basically only buyers. And we're just seeing some crazy hot stocks. So Bile, it's been on my radar since it started running into the end of 2020. But the good trade I had on it was yesterday on that breakout. Like textbook, really couldn't get much better. I think I believe they had news in the morning too, which just made it even better. So I bought the first dip right out of the gate on Bile that day, and then immediately sold into the spike. I think my best sell was like high 70s. And then I kept watching it, and I wanted to see it hold the breakout level, which it did perfectly. Formed higher low after higher low throughout the midday. Volume was beautiful. So I started getting involved in those dips. And I think, I want to say my best sell was like 90 or 95, like 90.5. Right. And like, I totally underestimated the move. I thought it was stuffing. All that volume came in, and like, we just couldn't get over high a day. So I was like, I don't want to get caught in just a rug pull. Earlier this day, I should mention I was in TNXP on the breakout, and boom, as soon as it broke high day, they came out with an offering right during the day. So it went from like $1.10 and immediately slammed to like 95. And then I think continued to fade off to like 80 cents or whatever. Like perfect timing, right? High day breakout. So I was a little cautious going into this trade. So mentally, I think I was just probably in the wrong spot, but it worked perfectly. Even with all that volume come in, it continued to just trend upwards, higher low after higher low. And yeah, it peaked out in the, looks like 130s after hours, which is just crazy. And faded off today, but kind of more or less held up, honestly. So, I mean, I'm still watching it. The easy play for me is done. But like, this is exactly what I look for every day. A good one from today, it wasn't as low price, was FSRX.
Here we go.
This one's not as low price, but again, just the same exact pattern. I totally missed it. I was talking to the small cap rocket members. Someone in the room actually brought it up. But like, look, midday, perfect pattern, right over like even 510, and then just trended upwards, squeezed out to like 750s. That's textbook, exactly what I look for day in and day out. I believe this was an electric vehicle stock too, so it's also in a hot sector. So the more factors you can just add to a stock for like why it could possibly go up, like the higher your chances are of it actually working. But I'm literally seeing like 3, 4, 5 of these a day. Like, you miss one, there's another one out there. There's just so many stocks running. So don't be like down on yourself. If you sell too early or you miss one, just refocus, learn from it. There's going to be another one, at least right now. I can't say the same thing in 3 months, but right now there's going to be another one. So just learn from it and nail the next one.
Yep.
So
love it.
That's what I got today.
I guess a good question though that I'd ask you is like, when you have 5, 10 plays at one time, would you say adding as many things you can to the particular chart or a stock as to why it would work be the kind of filter factor of how you try to pick ones over the other, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And the daily, like, even though an intraday pattern might be forming, I want the daily chart to also line up and have a significant level. This one, FRSX, was perfect. Like EV stock, former runner, it was breaking out in the mid 5s there, right where it was forming that breakout pattern midday. Yeah, like you were saying, the more factors you can add to it, the better. And like, if you're stuck between one, like, look at the daily, look at the volume. Is there a catalyst? Honestly, which one has which one has more range? Like, it's great if it's forming this pattern, but if it's in like 2-cent range and you don't think it's going to run very far, like, it's probably not worth it. Where this one, like, like the range was there. You could see the range on a daily chart and you knew it had the possibility to move. So just try to like compile a list of as many factors as you can. And then if you're honestly still tied at that point, maybe you should trade them both. Like, if, you know, they might both work.
Take everything, just buy everything. Yeah.
Not what I'm saying. But
yeah. No. Because I was thinking too, so I think something that people might make the mistake of is having confirmation bias. So like if you find yourself looking too hard for everything for a particular ticker, you might be too biased. Like the things Matt is mentioning is things that are very easy to see, right? Catalyst, volume, chart, sector. It's not like, oh, I did some deep research on Google and found this one guy in this message board that said this stock's gonna go up. Like that's not a factor, like don't, or even do the opposite of look for factors that are going against the stock, because that might help you find particular stocks that you don't want to buy. Like maybe there are like 5 tickers that are running, but 3 of them have like 2 negative factors about them that you don't like. So then you can cut those out. You know what I mean? I don't even know if I had a point at the end of this, but like, yeah, just don't get fall into confirmation bias. Look at what's very clear and obvious, objective. Don't look at what you think, but what the market's telling you. And you'll, over time with practice, be able to pick the best one. So let's move right along. SIGL, Jack, let's hear it.
So SIGL was an interesting one. Elon was tweeting use Signal app, and basically this ticker got mistaken for the Signal app. And as you can see, it spiked there from $1 to $70 over a few days. That's not a misprint at 70. You may think it's a misprint. It's not a misprint. That stock actually spiked from 70 to 70 in 10 minutes? Just absolutely insane action. I didn't even see the stock till Friday. A couple of friends mentioned it to me and I was like, oh, that's interesting. Completely forgot about it Monday. And basically, go to the next day, Kyle. So I forgot about it that day. And then this morning, I forgot about it, saw it spike from 7 to 70 and was looking for shares to short into that parabolic at $70. Like that's just an incredible opportunity. Just spiked 1,000%. And couldn't find any. So then I quickly said, okay, I'm going to dip buy it. And the stock ended up panicking all the way from 70 to, what is it, $25?
23, 24, 22 at the low.
Yeah, so I went long in that area and I sold some into the immediate pop just to downsize because I took a little bit big of a position for the volume. So always downsizing just to be safe, and then held on, saw that 27 was slowly absorbing, and then we lifted through 30 and it was just off to the races. Another squeeze out from 30 to, what is that, $50?
55-ish, yeah.
Basically a 100% bounce within 15 minutes, and that's literally just the market we're in. Unfortunately, I did, right when it popped, 32, 33, 34, 35, I was just selling into the strength. And then I did have a small piece left over that I got out at 45, but it was just a very small piece, and it ended up being a really nice trade. And then would have shorted that lower high versus the highs, but there's no borrows once again. And it's not like I've never seen this pattern. Like this was nearly identical to INVVY's price action in the summer. So I was very familiar with how to trade this one. I love when the range is this big on these OTCs because there's just so much potential. The liquidity just wasn't very good on this one. So I was trading a little bit smaller size than I would have liked comparative to like how good this opportunity was. You just got to be careful with the liquidity. Then it dipped back down and I actually got a way better entry. The first dip buy, I think I was in from 25, 26, 27. But the second dip buy, I nailed the bottom there at like 23.11 was my entry. And just immediately, moonshotted back to, 33, 34, 35. Sold it again there, like 10 points was like a minute. So I just love when these things create these bouncing ball type patterns because there's so much clean volatility. And as a day trader, that's the best kind of volatility, in my opinion, when it's super clean, up, down. It's no surprise that some of the big names out there, their best trades were on Fannie Mae back in the day when it was at whatever,
$5,
$5,
$6. Yeah.
and it was creating these V-type volatility. And that's just really good because you can get in with a tight risk and the reward is so good. Like, for example, 100% bounce in 10, 15 minutes, and then another 10 point bounce in a few minutes. And then after that, I got long bias again in the afternoon when I was holding sideways and bought that OTC swizzle kind of variation over the highs. And I just sold that out into the spike, but it was another 5 points or so. And it was just these predictable trades just adding up over and over again. And I think I ended up making 42 grand on the name overall, just on the long side. Too bad I didn't have shares to short because I probably could have matched that on the short side. But I was done looking for shares the next day, no shares. Unfortunately, I lost like a grand dip buying it out the morning, didn't bounce, and then dumped into the close. And then today I was trying to short it again, but I had realized that this was just overdone to the downside. So the liquidity is crappy. And I just got out for a few grand loss. So the last 2 days trades haven't been great on it. And now I'll probably avoid it unless something happens again. Something big news catalyst, bullish or bearish, be looking for the price action. But this was a fun one because just absolutely insane range. Hopefully there's more of these. And please bring more volume next time. That's my thoughts on that one.
Yep. You know, back to what I said about going long. If they're and how crazy the market is, like if this play isn't the poster child for what our market is doing. I mean, this was a completely mistaken ticker for a completely different company, and we run, you know, we run 1,000% in one day, and over, you know, however many thousands of percent from the previous run. And even then, you know, the reason why this day gapped down so hard was because the company put out a PR saying we are not the company that Elon Musk tweeted about. Like, we are a different company. We are not associated with that company at all. So yeah, it did drop 50% that day. But the fact that we're even still at $7 and we were at $1 before Elon Musk tweeted, I mean, even now it's ridiculous. Like, if I was some stubborn short seller, I'd probably be short and I'm swinging it back to $1. But like, the fact that we're not even dropping and people are still buying this, like, why would this spike here? You know, I guess maybe some shorts are covering, but it's just insane. It's ridiculous. So that's the kind of market we're in. Jack pretty much nailed it on the head with the trades and how he traded it. Same as me. I didn't have shares or short, so I had to dip buy it a couple times there. But yeah, in terms of the trades I took going into Monday were my best short trades of the month so far. And I mean, I don't want to say they were lucky, but at the same time, I did benefit greatly. So what happened was that into Friday, and what I'm about to say is very risky. I would not recommend a beginning short seller do this. Even as an experienced short seller like me, I still contemplated whether I should do this. But I went ahead with it because I took small size and I was acceptant of the risk of being wrong. But into Friday on last week, Bitcoin had broken over 40K, made a new high up to 42,000. And then into the market close, Bitcoin was probably the weakest it's ever been. It went from, I think, 42,000, and then it was panicking around 39,000 into the close on Friday. As you can see, GBTC that follows Bitcoin closed at its lows. And so I've seen this price action before on Bitcoin, and I thought, you know, it's very risky holding over the weekend because Bitcoin could do anything. Bitcoin could go higher, Bitcoin could go lower, and I have no control over my position. Now, but I realized if I risked the highs, if I took a position that risked the highs of these Bitcoin plays, worst case is Bitcoin opens up higher or Bitcoin goes over high a day, and by the Monday morning, I just cut it for wherever these gap to, probably close to the high a day or higher for whatever loss I'm willing to accept. So I said, okay, I can do that. So I did short GBTC a little bit earlier before it went. I think I had like a mid 45 average, closed near its lows at 44, so I was up on that one. I then also took a smaller short on BTCS as well. On this day into the close, I had like a 140 average. And so, like I said, worst case, they open up, Bitcoin goes higher, they'll both open up at their highs, and I have to take the loss. Now, the reason why I took this is because the risk reward and the potentiality of being right was there. So over the weekend, you know, if you watch Bitcoin, we got crushed. I mean, we were down 20% by Monday morning. hence why GBTC gapped down. I mean, we gapped down like $8 a share. BTCS, we gapped down, almost 60 cents a share. So my small shorts, even though we're small, ended up paying quite nicely, and bringing me to profitable on the short side, because I did actually lose money shorting the first week. So to start off the day, or start off the week on a Monday with these gap downs were really, really nice. And in terms of how did I time the covers, I mean, I covered them immediately. Right at the open, I covered. I shouldn't say that. BTSC I did cover into this panic, but GBTC I covered right out the open. Didn't want to play any games. Like to get a 20% pullback in Bitcoin over the weekend was a huge gift. And that's pretty much it for my short trades realized, I should say, for profiting. We might be able to go over WNW later in the episode, but in terms of shorting, like it's been very difficult. Like I said, if Bitcoin didn't die and it opened up to new highs, I mean, I would have taken losses and I would still be negative short selling wise. So again, the market we're in is insane. Not only that, but Bitcoin is not at new highs. We're at like what, 36, 37,000. Meanwhile, BTCS is like pushing new highs. Like it's almost as if BTCS isn't even following Bitcoin anymore. It doesn't make any sense, and I'm not going to try to make sense of it. Again, that's just the market we're in. It's insane. Like I actually was thinking about longing BTCS on a dip with Bitcoin, as trying to catch this bounce, but like I was trying to wait for like a little bit of a consolidation period, and here's BTCS, almost 100% from where we were at low, where I covered. Like it's insane. Nothing I do about it now. Just gonna keep watching, see what happens. But it just, again, that's the kind of market we're in. It's just buy now, ask questions later. So
it's crazy.
Yeah.
All right, LKNCY. I can go over briefly. Can't remember. I feel like we talked about this, or maybe I talked about this in a video recap I did recently. Watching forward, but I mentioned, or we talked about this 100% on this big run mid-December, it looks like, when they came out. There was like some settlement with SEC. I don't know the exact news. Gapped huge, ran huge for 2 days, and has been holding up for the month, 4 or 5 weeks afterwards. I've been long this since basically the beginning of the year. Really small size, just so I could like be involved in it, watch how it trades, because I thought this breakout was coming, and the last 2 days it's kind of like really started heating up. $9 was the key level to like kind of start the breakout, in my opinion. And today we closed just barely over 10. But we had a great morning spike once we closed over that $9 level, and then we basically went sideways all afternoon and closed near 10. But zooming out, Kyle, if you look at like a huge, like, I don't know, year, 2 year chart on this, like there's if it breaks out, and I'm not fully convinced it's going to, there's, the volume isn't as crazy as it was back in the day, but there's this huge gap to fill from when they were sued by the SEC for like just being a total scam. They got delisted from either NASDAQ or the New York Stock Exchange, went onto the OTC market. So they gapped down from 25 bucks to basically 1080, I think. It's the high tens, and we've double topped there, and we are very close to that level. So we'll see tomorrow when you guys are watching this episode what's going to happen. I find it like it'd be great if it just broke out and continued to running, but there's that level overhead. Once we get over that basically $11 level, there's just no resistance. It's blue skies to 20 bucks. So if there's a catalyst, if there's a PR, this could certainly get crazy. Until then, though, we're just going to see what happens. We're not broken out yet, but it's trending in the right direction. So this is our stock for the episode that you guys should just keep on your radar, see what happens. Who knows? They're not being sued by the SEC anymore. So if this uplists, Kyle brought up, I'll let Kyle explain his story with IGCC. But like that could be a situation, or it could just be a total flop. So
yeah.
take it away.
So yeah, again, this is total speculation. So until it's proven to be right, this is not tradable advice at all. But as traders, I like to think I look at history as a good lesson because the future tends to rhyme how history played out. And so if you've been trading long enough, there is a old ticker called IGC. I think I have to show both charts here, but IGC is a weed runner. Now, it wasn't always like that. In the middle of the weed run, I believe it was 2018. It immediately changed its business plan to like whatever they were doing before, immediately into weed company, like overnight. Oh, we're a weed company now. and this stock just surged. I mean, it went from $1 to $14 at that peak of the weed mania. Finally, the SEC kind of caught on and said, "Hey, no, you can't just change your business plan and have no, weed sales or operations and just benefit from this kind of this action." So they did end up getting delisted to the OTC market as IGCC. That no longer is a ticker because, as you see, they're still IGC. So what happened throughout this whole period here, where it just went sideways at its lows? It was on the OTC market as IGCC. Once they proved to the SEC that no, we are a weed company now, we are doing weed operations, the SEC said, okay, fine, we will let you uplist. And so that was a huge long opportunity, because once that news came out, I mean, it gapped from like 30 cents all the way up to $1. So just the gap alone, it was already up over 100%. But when it was unlisted, I mean, it was worth over $2. Again, should the company be worth that much? That's not me to say, but from a psychological standpoint, people remember, oh, on the NASDAQ, or on the Amex, it was $2 and we're only at $1, and and the uplisting was a certainty. Like they said, we're going to be uplisted on this date. And so I remember longing it at like $1, like 20 or 30 and selling it at like near 2. I think I remember relonging and then selling it like 240 the next day. I mean, huge inefficiency that allows you to long. So, if LKNCY does relist after they've paid off the SEC, they're like, we're done fraudulent or being fraudulent with our sales, they have the eligibility to then go uplist again back to where they came from. So if they do that, I mean, who knows? I'm not going to give any price targets, but clearly there's going to be buyers to take this higher. Again, big if, because they have to get uplisted. You have to have that news come out to verify that it's going to happen. But if it does, it could be a very big opportunity. So again, something to keep on watch for the future. But again, all has to play out. You can't just, I wouldn't gamble on this and take any just speculative long hoping it's going to uplist, unless you've got some clear risk level and a good plan. Who knows when that can happen. So
absolutely, yeah, just keep your eye on it, because I think no matter what, there'll probably be some type of play going forward. So it's definitely worth just having on your watch list.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well said, Kyle.
Cool.
I think you got one more, right? Do you want to do?
Yeah, let's let me just briefly mention it. Let me just go over WW. So as much as shorting is tough, there are still good plays that pop up, and when they do, I do believe shorting is worth it. Obviously, I benefited from the crypto run, but this is again another huge one that actually gave me one of my new best days back in December. The first day of December really paid out with this run from 3 to 9, and then it pulled. Now, as you can see, this company is, I guess, technically tied to the energy sector because they sell like solar windows, but the reality is they have no revenues, right? They haven't sold a product, I think, in their entirety of their company. So they're just solely up on hype, which is a great inefficiency for short selling like me, for short sellers like me. So after running from $8 to then 18, or a high of 19 today, this is a supernova, clearly what I look for. As into the intraday, as we pulled hard here, it was a good sign of weakness. And then once we really pulled the second time, this is where I got short a lot of shares, a little bit of a chase, because it did bounce. I could have probably gotten some size there. But then once, we failed to get back over VWAP, and especially after this resistance being set at 19, we just totally collapse. And I'm still short overnight, so we'll see where it goes tomorrow. But just, if history is a guide, like I said, usually this pulls back pretty hard every time it does. We went from last run from 10 down to 6. We could easily not going to be too hard on price targets, but we should just go lower the next day, which is why I'm swinging some overnight short. We'll have to see where it ends up panicking tomorrow morning, but that's again another short trade that there's still an edge. I'm not trying to say shorting doesn't work anymore, because it does, but you just got to be more picky, and you got to be very particular of which plays you pick, because other plays could just be a total pain in the ass. So yeah, right now that's my top short play.
Beautiful.
Yep.
Well, I think that's all we got. My closing words are You guys can have some too if you have any. But like, there's a ton of plays out there. We're in some of the hottest markets possibly ever. Like 2000 is the closest comparison, and like who knows? 2000 only lasted 3 months, so we're only like 2 weeks in. So we'll see if we last 3 months, if we last a full year. Learn as much as you can now, because who knows? Like 6 months down the road, a year down the road, the market could still be super hot, and you want to be ready for just all those plays that are coming. So if you're new, stick with it. Like, subscribe, hit us up. We're pretty much everywhere on every social media. So find us. We're pretty nice people. We'll answer your questions.
Not Jack. He might snap at you. Might try to bite your finger off online.
Kyle's the short seller with a bear hat on. I'm a lot nicer.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming on. That's all we got for this episode. So we'll see you next week. Cheers.
Right up.